My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Spider Man 2. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But just like the original movie, this one was such an important part of my childhood. Like, I saw this movie a few times in theaters, and it just blew my mind. I rewatched the DVD to no end, and I was completely obsessed with this movie growing up. But it's one of those movies where, as a kid, you like it because of all the action, but as an adult, you realize just how perfect this movie is. And this movie is in my top two favorite comic book movies of all time, and it's in my top five movies of all time. This movie really is that good, and it's a masterpiece in every single aspect. So let's begin by talking about the cast and characters, and Tobey Maguire continues to do fantastic work as Peter Parker. He just brings the perfect level of dorkiness, but I just love how sincere he is at the same time, and he just does everything that he needed to perfectly. He carries this movie incredibly well, and if you ask me, this is an Oscar worthy performance. And this is a character driven movie, and Peter Parker is given so much depth because he has chosen to be Spider Man. He has chosen to be a hero, but as a result, his personal life is just falling apart. Like, he can't keep a job, he can barely afford anything, he's slacking in school, he's not there for MJ, he can't even help his Aunt May with her bills. The guy is just getting crushed under the weight of absolutely everything. And he still feels guilty. He still feels responsible for what happened to Uncle Ben. And just as a result of him being unable to choose what he wants in life, he loses his powers. And he really starts to struggle there. And you just see how bad Peter Parker has it for so much of the movie. One of my favorite scenes is the scene at a planetarium. Well, MJ is there with her boyfriend John Jameson, and he tries to talk to her, but she's pissed that he hasn't been to her play once. And she scorns him, and he feels like shit about it. And then his best friend Harry physically assaults him and humiliates him in front of everyone. And as soon as he walks away, he finds out that John and MJ are now engaged. And it's actually a heartbreaking scene because everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And you just feel for this character on such a deep level. And he has this dream sequence where he's talking to Uncle Ben and he doesn't want to be Spider Man anymore. He wants to be happy. He wants to be selfish. And you get it. And when he gives up his responsibilities as Spider Man, he starts enjoying his life way more. He's doing great at school, he's going to MJ's play, but at what cost? There's this great scene of Peter just walking by, somebody getting mugged in the alley, realizing he's helpless to do anything here. And like, if you choose to be a hero, you still feel that inside. And there's another really terrific scene where he runs into a burning building to save this kid, and he nearly dies as a result. But afterwards, he finds out that somebody else died. That despite putting his life on the line, it still wasn't enough. And I just love the way the movie explores that. It really is a powerful character study, and then we get this scene where he decides to be honest to Aunt May. And this entire moment is heartbreaking, where he tells her the truth about what happened the night Uncle Ben dies. And there's a shot where he tries to take her hand and she pulls it back, and she's in disbelief that she doesn't say anything and she just goes upstairs. And it just feels real. And I love how the next time he sees her, she's the one who motivates him to go back to being Spider-Man. And he has learned a lesson. He is ready to give up MJ for good. He is ready to give up his personal life for good. Because it's more important to him that he helps people. And that scene with him and MJ and the dino, well, she's ready to be with him and Peter is ready to reject her yet again. It's so good. But then lots of stuff happens, and then we get the ending of the movie. Well, MJ sees Spider-Man without his mask on and realizes it's Peter Parker. And in this moment, you feel like a giant burden has been lifted. And it's just a truly beautiful moment. And I love the conversation they have in the web afterwards where he's like, look, pretty much I love you, but I have enemies and this will never work. And it's just a very beautiful moment, and I love it when he lures MJ down to be with John and they're hugging and MJ's looking at Peter up above and he's ready to swing off, but he stops. He takes one last look at what he's giving up and then he swings away. Like, this movie is just so good. But I also love how at the end of the movie, MJ's like, no, like, love requires communication and understanding, and I know it's going to be difficult, I know it won't be perfect, but I choose you. And for once, Peter accepts this love. And I just think the character work here is truly outstanding. It's relatable, it's powerful, it's emotional, and Tobey Maguire just highlights every single aspect of it perfectly. So truly remarkable work. And then we get Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius, and he does a really great job. I love how menacing he can be, but you can still tell that he's a good person deep down. And I love the look of him. Like, the way his mechanical arms look still holds up to this day. It's some truly impressive CGI, and I love the way this character is written because he has spent his entire life on this goal. He has spent so much time researching it and practicing it, and it turns out it all went wrong. His everything comes crumbling down on him, but he doesn't want to give it up. He spent so much time on it, he's determined to make it work. He's acting selfish, he's acting destructive. And in some ways, it ties into Peter's arc about being willing to give up everything you want to do good. But for most of this movie, Otto is the reverse of that. It's only at the end where he truly gets to redeem himself. So a really well written character that fits in thematically with this movie. And then we get Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane here, who continues to give yet another terrific performance. Like between this movie and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, no one else has had as good of a year as Kirsten Dunst did in 2004. And I just love how she is always believable. It never feels like somebody's acting. Mary Jane feels like a real person. And you can get a sense of her internal struggle. Like, she loves Peter. She's trying to make it obvious. But she also doesn't just want to wait for him. She still wants to move on with her life. But she's still hoping that Peter will accept her soon. But she's constantly being let down by him throughout the movie, and she's with John, and like he seems to be a fine guy, but she's not passionate about him in any way. He's a safe, boring choice. But when she realizes that Peter is Spider-Man, everything just clicks for her, and she understands why he has let her down. But she has gained so much respect for him that she wants to make it work. And it's just a really well written character, and I thought she added so much to this movie. Then we get James Franco, who I think does a really good job as Harry Osborn. I like how at the beginning of this movie, he's pretty much focused on two things: Oscorp and hating Spider-Man. But when everything with Otto goes down, he starts being more concerned about just hating Spider-Man. His hatred, his desire for revenge has overtaken him, and it's kind of corrupted him. And I love the character arc he goes in throughout all three movies, and he's really well written here, despite being in like 5, maybe 10 minutes of this movie. And then we get Rosemary Harris, who I thought should have been nominated for an Oscar for her work in this movie. She is just fantastic here. That scene where Peter tells her the truth, she just sells you on the weight of it, and she always feels believable, and she's truly outstanding in this movie. Then we've got J.K. Simmons, who continues to be perfect as J. Jonah Jameson. He brings so much personality and humor to this movie, and he steals every scene he's in. I also do love how he kind of regrets hating Spider-Man for like a moment, but then he goes right back to it as soon as Spider-Man's back. Just a really well written character as well. I thought Daniel Gillis as John Jameson is really boring, but that's kind of the point. So I thought he did a pretty good job. Donna Murphy does really good as Rose, Otto's wife. I thought Bruce Campbell in his one scene is so hilarious. Eli Baskin as Peter's landlord could have been a forgettable side character, but he's so funny and entertaining, and he really stands out. Where's my rent? Just every line delivery is delivered perfectly. I also like Magdalena Torba's performance as Ursula. That scene where she brings Peter some cake is a really nice smaller moment. And despite being barely in the movie, Ted Raimi, Bear Nunn, and Elizabeth Banks just add so much to the Daily Bugle. They give the company personality. And I really like the scene where Robbie has Spider-Man's mask in his hands and he looks really upset that he's thrown in the towel. And then we get Dylan Baker, who's only in like 2 scenes, but he still stands out as Kurt Connors. And Cliff Robertson and Willem Dafoe do really good in their very, very minimal screen time. So the entire cast is truly incredible. Everybody does what they needed to perfectly. And I just love how this is a movie that truly understands what it means to be a hero. About the willingness to sacrifice everything else in your life. About prioritizing everyone else's well-being over your own. And just about how you have to be selfless. And I've never seen a movie that understands what being a hero means quite like this movie. And I also just love how Peter's struggles are so relatable to everyone. Like, it really keeps this movie grounded. Like, I'm not a superhero, but I can relate to trying to balance my life. Whether it's work and family and friends and school. Like, I've had moments in my life where I found it really difficult to do all those things. And it's really refreshing to see a hero actually struggle financially. I love when Aunt May gives him the $20 bill, and then as soon as his landlord sees it, he just takes it from him. It just makes this movie feel like it's about real people. And at its core, this is a movie also about mental health and trying to become the best version of yourself possible. And I love how they don't feel the need to explain why he lost his powers. The subtext is present, but it's still left to interpretation. I also love how character driven this movie is, and it's one of the most emotional movies. Like I said, that gala scene is heartbreaking. But there's so many moments that just hit me in the feels. Like Peter's conversation with Aunt May at the beginning, where she gives him the $20 and Peter's like, I can't take this. And she's like, it's only $20. It's not much, for God's sake, just take it. So good. And his conversations with Mary Jane, and when everybody in the train is lifting him up and they realize that it's just a kid. He's no older than my kid. Don't worry, Spider-Man, we won't tell anyone. This scene is just so powerful, and I love how sincere it is. And the ending of this movie, where Peter gives up Mary Jane only for her to go running back to him, this movie is just heartbreaking and powerful throughout. From beginning to end, I am 110% invested in everything. And I love how heartfelt and sincere these movies are. We need more of this in comic book movies nowadays. And I also love how action-packed this movie is. Like that one scene early on where Peter is taking down those criminals is a very short scene, but it still stands out. Otto's experiment going wrong in the lab is a really exciting moment, and for some reason, as a kid, it terrified me when Rose got killed and then the sun destroys Otto's chip. And then we get the hospital scene, and this scene is pure Sam Raimi. Like, it terrified me as a kid, but it's so unique and interesting and tense and kind of brutal despite being PG 13, and I just love it. The bank fight is really great. He was legitimately trying to crush Spider Man's head. Like, I love how mean the villains can be in these movies, and the fight on the side of the building is really great. I love it when Otto turns his one tentacle into a knife, and Peter's swinging towards him, and Aunt May's just like, shame on you, and she saves him. Just some really terrific stuff there. And I love how much screaming is in this movie. It sells you on the terror the characters are experiencing. The scene where Peter runs into the burning building is a very thrilling scene as well, because he just feels so vulnerable. The clock tower fight is really great, and I love how it transitions into the train fight. This scene is one of the best comic book action scenes ever, and I just love how they fully utilize the environment. The final fight with Peter and Doc Ock fighting in the abandoned warehouse is just perfection. It's emotional, it's thrilling, and it's so well captured. And by the way, the web slinging still looks terrific in these movies. Like, is it just me, or like none of the other live action Spider Man movies have web slinging a fraction this good? It's just unbelievable watching it. And I love how funny this movie can be as well. I love how his landlord always wants Peter's rent. I love when Peter buys MJ's flowers and he's got a bunch and the vendor is just like, no. And he's only left with 3. The scene where Peter jumps off the building and he's like, I'm back, I'm back. Then he holds his back and he's like, oh, my back, my back. That's a great moment. Pizza Time is a really funny and iconic scene for whatever reason, but it's great. Every J. Jonah Jameson scene is comedy gold. I love how at the gala, like, it's funny, but it's also sad how Peter keeps trying to get some food or trying to get a drink and he's having no luck. Like, it's a nice gag, but it's also representative of everything Peter is going through. The elevator scene is really funny. And I love when John gets left at the auto. Jameson is just like, don't open the caviar. Just great. And it's a very romantic movie as well. The relationship between Peter and MJ is just done so well, and it's so sweet and so honest and so perfectly done. And it just gives you everything you could possibly want from a movie like this. And Sam Raimi's direction just elevates it to the next level. It's beautifully shot. Lots of dynamic camera work throughout. And the editing is so stylish. Like, nobody does it like Sam Raimi. I love that one scene where Peter is passed out on the train and it focuses on his spider symbol. And now we're at Harry's place. I love when Peter is swinging towards the clock tower and it zooms out and now it's Doc Ock's goggles. I love at the gala when Peter takes the picture of John and MJ, and with the flash, he's now swinging through the air. Just so many great, interesting choices throughout. And I love how campy this movie can be. The raindrops keeps falling on my head scene is so delightful and unique. And by the way, the soundtrack is so good. Like, yes, I love that song, but the utilization of Hold On by the Jets is also perfection. And then, whenever the movie ends and it cuts to Vindicated, I am selfish, I am wrong, I am right, I swear I'm right, swear I knew it all along, and I am flawed, but I am cleaning up so well. So you had to hear that, but it just gets me every single time. I love the Michael Bublé cover of the Spider-Man theme song in the credits as well. So really great song choices. And the score by Danny Elfman is just perfection. It adds a sense of awe and excitement and emotion to the movie, and it just truly makes it feel iconic. And I know this created some issues between Danny and Sam, but I love the utilization of Hellraiser's music as well. It's just fits this movie perfectly. And by the way, I love the opening credits and how it recaps the first movie. Just truly unique and outstanding work. I love how this movie has some fun jump scares, like Harry looking over the balcony and getting attacked. The sound design in this movie, holy shit, so good. Whenever the fusion machine turns on, it's like do, 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 do. It still sounds incredible, and the sound of Doc Ock's mechanical arms. Like I mentioned, the CGI still holds up. And I love the final shot of this movie, how Peter and MJ kiss, they're together. She says, "Go get him, Tiger." And we get this great swinging scene. And that would have been a good ending, but the final shot is focusing on the loneliness that MJ is about to feel. Like, wow, what a movie! What a movie! Like, guys, this is just one of the greatest movies ever made. It is a masterpiece in every single aspect. The movie is action-packed, it's thrilling, it's romantic, it's heartbreaking, it's sincere, it can be campy, it's romantic. This movie gives you everything. But it's also a really well-told story that truly understands what being a hero means and sacrifice, and it understands these characters so well, and every plot beat works perfectly. This movie just I just can't say enough how perfect this movie is. I love it with every fiber of my being, and I'm giving Spider-Man 2 a 10 out of 10. Ah, I forgot to mention the pacing. This movie is paced perfectly. Like, it's just over 2 hours long, but it flies by. It never drags, it's never boring, it's just a perfectly paced and structured movie. And, like, it's my second favorite comic book movie. It was my favorite for the longest time, but you know which one passed it recently? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So Spider-Man 2 beat Spider-Man 2. Just funny how that worked out. But both are in my top 5 movies of all time, and both are in my top 2 comic book movies of all time, and both are masterpieces. But anyways, Spider-Man 2, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more comments soon. For more videos soon. And Gavin out.